Om Shanti and good morning. My name is Pratibha from South Africa, and I've been here in ORC for the last 3 days on a very special retreat. It's a silence retreat on the theme of renunciation with love. And this was a retreat where there were 65 participants from about 18 different countries. And we were all been meditating and practicing Raja Yoga for more than 20 years. So it has really been a 3-day retreat for us to sustain ourselves and to deepen our own personal learning. And so it gives me great pleasure today to have a conversation with some of the participants that have come from the different corners of the globe. I have Vivien here from Mexico, Celia from Malaysia, Rupa from Mauritius, and Carol from UK and Egypt. So warm welcome to all of you. And just to start off, I'd like you to just to introduce yourself and a little bit of your own personal journey that started you off onto the path of Raja Yoga. So start with you, Carol.
It seems strange to be speaking, actually, after 3 days of silence. Very beautiful silence. So just over 20 years ago, yes, I walked into a Brahma Kumaris Centre looking for meditation. I was a very stressed executive at the time, and I'd been searching for many things. I'd been reading all the self-development books and going on all the self-development courses, and really nothing seemed to be working. But when I came into the Raja Yoga Centre, I just felt so completely at home. I think that's all I can say, and I just enjoyed being there, and I just kept coming and coming and coming, and now here 22 years later I'm still hanging around. So it was just a very beautiful, very natural experience for me, actually.
And where was it?
So that was in England, and I'm English, and I was in the Midlands at the time, but since then I've travelled around a little bit. I've spent quite a lot of time in London, and then in the last 5 years I've had the pleasure of spending some time in the Middle East, which has been a really amazing experience, really beautiful. So we have many retreats, and we have one coming up, actually, people from the Middle East, and so mainly in Egypt. I've also been to Kuwait and Bahrain and a few other places. So that's just been a really beautiful experience for me, and I'm very thankful for it, actually.
Rupa, would you like to share a bit about yourself?
I came to this institution in 1979, and at that time I came from an Orthodox family, and in the beginning I had to face some problems, but afterwards everybody came to know the importance of this knowledge and how it enhances the value of our life. And so after getting permission from home, I dedicated myself for godly service. And in Mauritius at that time we had only one center, and Brahma Kumaris knowledge was quite new to people. And at that time I had this real enthusiasm to share my experience with others so that we can help them also take benefit of this knowledge.
Okay. Celia?
Some 20 years ago, I was a very ambitious, career-minded woman. I must say that to some extent, I was quite successful. I was a consultant, management consultant, and in a very specialized field, a field where it was dominated by men, and specialized in foreign investments into Malaysia. So I had to travel quite a fair bit to different countries, mostly in Asia, and I was successful, but on the one hand, even with that success, I was having some lack of confidence. But one thing that struck me quite constantly is that I have got some sign of anxiety, to the extent that I have constant pain and some, I think now I would say migraine, which I didn't know at that time. And so I constantly had that. And one day, it was not so busy, so I decided to go to the doctors. And I told my secretary, I'm going to have that day off. And I was driving after seeing the doctor. I was living in that neighborhood, but I didn't realize that there was a Raj Yoga Center there at that time. And I was driving there, there was a big sign in red that read, free meditation to relieve stress. Gee, I said, this is the thing that I must go to, because I've gone to various doctors. It never helped me to relieve my stress or my migraine or headache. So I went there and I told them, this is what I want. I like to take up Raj Yoga meditation. I've not heard of meditation before. And so I started on that. And even the first lesson itself, I felt peace. I was not able to meditate because when the teacher taught me to meditate, I fell asleep. I was sleeping the whole time. But I felt a sense of peace and calmness inside that I went back very contented, very happy. And so I took the 7-day course like that, and it was so marvelous. But I couldn't come because of my work. And nevertheless, I delayed, and one day the teacher told me, just come for morning. And since then, there was no turning back. Because what I had to do in 1 month, I felt that I could do in 1 day. It was so good, so fantastic.
Great, thank you. And Vivien from Mexico.
I found this lovely university being in London. The whole family, we went for postgraduate studies. I was studying a master in sociology of education. And while studying and reading all these books and theories about education and sociology, I kept thinking there must be something more simple and that people can understand it easily. If the topic is education, should be really simple and easy to understand. So it happened that I found Raja Yoga, and I was in a conference by Shanti, and when I was hearing her, the way she was explaining a new education in spiritual terms, I just loved it. I said, this is what I was looking for. Yeah. And then I was meant to do a postgraduate in philosophy of science, but my PhD became Raja Yoga, really, because I found the truth. I found all what science can tell us. I found it here.
Great. So while you have the mic, tell us a little bit about the work of the Brahma Kumaris in Mexico itself.
Yeah. So I came back to Mexico, and my own house became a center. We have 11 centers in the whole country. Mexico is a country, because being neighbors with United States, we have a certain situation with drug dealers and crime and kidnapping and all this insecurity. So nowadays, really, it's a space where you can feel safe, where you can feel protected. And we've been also working with value-based education, which has helped in the whole country. So that's something. We have 11 centers, and people really enjoy it.
And since which year was it that you started with the work in Mexico?
I started in 87.
87.
87, yeah.
Great.
I started in London, and then in 88 I went to Mexico and I stayed there. I've been a teacher for 30 years at the university, teaching industrial design and history of art, of design, geometry, projects and all this. But I always would tell my students, I never said, let's do meditation. I would say, let's have a moment of silence. And then I would prepare the topic for them to quiet their mind and so on. But every time when I arrived, if I would forget the minute of silence, they would say, teacher, you forgot the meditation. And you know, if they hear that word at the university that should be completely non-religious, I would think, don't say meditation. I've never said meditation. But they really enjoyed it.
The silence.
Yeah, it brought their mind to open and to understand why we were looking at the topic in a more meaningful way.
Celia, if you'd like to talk a little bit about the work of the Brahma Kumaris in Malaysia.
Yeah. Well, Malaysia is a multicultural, multinational, multi-ethnical country, and has got three ethnic groups, the Malay being the majority, and then the Chinese and the Indians. Service in Malaysia is, I would say, very good in the sense that we now have 60 over centers and sub-centers and Gita Pashalas in a small country. And we have actually now a new retreat center coming up, which is almost ready, which can accommodate with an auditorium of 1,500 capacity. So we are growing very fast and service is good, I must say. We have reached various groups in the country, the professionals and so on. We hold regular retreats for those people too. But mainly I would say that the Brahmin population is growing, mostly from those from the South Indian group because they have the bhavna and this knowledge is not entirely new to them. And they come in groups like in families, and easily when they come to the knowledge, the whole family will come along, and then so we set up another Gita Pashala. Like that, the centers in Malaysia is growing. But for my level, I feel that we need to emphasize more on because we're not so much reached to the government sector, purely because being a Muslim country, we need to be a little bit cautious as well. Individually, the Malay group, the Malay race, they are very keen in meditation, and even in their religion, they do talk about meditation, but they're not allowed to come in to the centers. If they are found or if they are known to come, then they would be followed by their religious leaders, and they're not allowed to because of some fatwa ruling about yoga. So because of that, the Brahma Kumaris in Malaysia, we have changed our name. Earlier on, our name is Brahma Kumaris Raj Yoga Malaysia, but now we just changed it Brahma Kumaris Malaysia. But nevertheless, in spite of that, we have reached to a certain extent those government subsectors and so on. Like for example, we are doing very well in like we have go to the prison department and give them motivational courses. We are invited to all the rehabilitation centers, the whole of Malaysia, and regularly we conduct courses, and so much so that they ask us to go regularly to conduct now every month to all the centers, and it's spreading to other states, and at first in the city and now spreading to other states in Malaysia. So in that respect, even the Ministry of Women's Affairs, the Ministry of Housing, Local Government, Ministry of Resources and so on, they are inviting us to give talks and programs at those places.
I know that being in Africa, Mauritius is just a stone's throw away from us, and amazing service happens in Mauritius. So Rupa, would you like to share a little bit about?
In Mauritius, we have around 18 to 20 centers, and the Brahmin population is around 2,000, nearly irregular students. And service is going on at the national level. As in Mauritius, we are recognized by the parliament as well, and it is approved under the Act 44 of the parliament since 1983. And the government recognizes also the good work being done by the Brahma Kumaris in Mauritius. And we have had the Living Values program since 1997. And it was introduced in the schools, and it came in the curriculum for the students in schools also. And the teaching of values, it is being given more and more importance day by day. And also the values program we have introduced in the villages. Just like 2 years back, we celebrated the Platinum Jubilee of the institution. And on that occasion, we decided to offer some gifts or honor all the different villages, especially in the area where we are in the southeast area. And each district by district in the country, we offered one value to one village. And in that context, it was just like giving a gift or honoring that village and every inhabitant of that village. And so beforehand, when we were talking about values, people would go away from it. But when we started this program, as if honoring them with that value, they gave more importance to it, and they came closer and they came to know about the work Brahma Kumaris were doing. And so in that program, we would contact all the main persons, the president of the village, the district council, and in collaboration with the local government, we organized programs where we had peace processions with that value, everyone holding that value in their hand, and we gave them as blessings, so value cards, which was a token for them, and offering them sweets and everything. And we encouraged those villages themselves, those inhabitants, the different groups, children, senior citizens, women, and youth, to organize programs around that value, in form of either poems or essay competition, painting competition, things like that. And they participated with a lot of zeal, enthusiasm. And in this way, they felt that this is something that we own, it is ours. And secondly, we had the UN Environment Day. In that context, we organized programs just like writing a letter to Mother Nature. So what inspiration we are getting from God to write a letter to Mother Nature. And that also was a competition where we invited members from the public to participate. And we took them all in nature and guided them with certain inspirations and asked them each one to write letter, reflect on what I can do and what inspiration I'm getting from God to help our Mother Nature. So that also was where they were given prizes. And this year for environment, we had a project on 3 items. One was to put a fresque, mural painting in all the different villages in that district where we organized the programs. In 26 villages, we painted a wall of 8 meters by 6 meters with theme, positive mind is equal to positive environment, with a very beautiful painting, which inspired everyone that how to use our mind positively to spread that positive vibrations to make the world green.
Yeah.
And in 25 villages, we did it in two months. And for United Peace Day, International Peace Day, for 1 month, we launched a project where everyone had to feel that goodness in them and be kind to someone. So we had printed a lot of cards, about thousands of cards, which we distributed to people. where it was written, think good and be kind. So it was not just telling someone, but we held programs in the villages explaining what we have to do. And we handed those cards to those people, act gently or be kind to someone, make them feel that kindness and offer that card. And in their turn, they will do the same to another one. And this was one project, September to October.
Okay. So many interesting projects, and it's very easy to serve the environment in Mauritius, definitely, because it's such a beautiful island.
Sure.
Okay.
Yes.
Carol, a little bit about the work that you do.
Yes, well, firstly, it's very, very inspiring to hear what happens in other countries, and I love to hear about these projects that are happening in Mauritius. In the Middle East, as you can imagine, it's slightly different. We're here, we're a university because we're here to study, but also because we're universal and we have to serve everyone. And really, I very much feel we have to serve the whole world in the way that they need to be served or they want to be served. And so in the Middle East, as you know, there's a lot of upheaval in many countries now in the Middle East. So really, there's a lot of suffering, a lot of sorrow. And people really are searching for some happiness, some peace, some hope. And this is what I think meditation can help them with. And this is why people are now seeking that. And I've seen in the last 5 years that I've been involved in work in the Middle East, really I've seen an explosion of interest in meditation. 5 years ago, hardly any, not much, certainly in the areas I've worked in, but now everybody's interested because really everyone is seeking something. And so we offer courses that really can help people where they're at. And really the environment is the last thing they're thinking about in Cairo, I can tell you. They're thinking about just how to live, how to eat, how to get through the day. And so we offer many courses on personal development, stress management, and things tailored to that kind of what people are looking for in that area. But there has been quite a lot of service in different countries over the years. And it's just very beautiful to see it growing. And what I'm also seeing is that wherever you go, it doesn't matter what religion, what country, wherever you are, a soul is a soul. And so this is our speciality here. We see people as souls. And they also then have that same vision, and they can go then beyond, the culture and the religion and the race and the language. And really we meet on a different level, which is very beautiful and very uplifting for us and also for them. And what people tell me is, particularly in Egypt, which is a mainly Muslim country, is that people will tell me, I prayed 5 times a day all my life. I said, but only now do I really understand what I'm doing, and do I really have that feeling that I'm really connecting with God. And it's so gratifying to hear that, actually. Really beautiful.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. I was recently in Abu Dhabi, and it was very interesting just to see how almost like the entire city comes to a halt when it's time for prayer, and that prayer to God is still important enough for people to stop. Most other countries it's quite ignored. So that kind of reverence for God is quite strong and powerful in the Middle East. So just from your sharing, it seems that what we have to share is the Brahma Kumaris, and particularly the knowledge of the soul, is something that resonates very deeply for people, and they find a lot of value from that. Anything else that you find that helps them take particularly sustenance from what we have to offer?
I think, and we've talked a lot about this in the retreat in the last few days, is really to do with the vibrations in the atmosphere. Somebody came to the centre the other day, actually, and she hadn't been for a long time, and she said, when I come here I feel like it's a mother's hug. It's so nice to be able to step out of that environment out there, which is very threatening and very difficult, to a place where they can really feel they can be themselves, and they can feel the peace, and they feel the atmosphere, and they want to take that with them. So they want to learn how to meditate so that they can then go back and apply it in their families. And actually many people have told me this, that when they manage to calm down, become more peaceful, and whatever they're practicing, even if it's just a little bit of meditation, it makes a huge difference, not just to them, but to their families and to their environments, actually. So really I think that this is something that's, it's almost intangible, but it's there. You know, people really pick up on it and appreciate it. The environment, the peacefulness, the vibrations of peace. And I also feel that this is a very important work that we are doing, particularly in these countries, is even when we're just sitting there meditating, we're actually giving peace to that country. We're sending out vibrations of peace and helping those environments. And many experiments have been done on this. It's not just kind of airy-fairy, it's science. You know, when we meditate, we create peace around us.
Rupa, in Mauritius, what have you found? Because Mauritius is quite a religious country, and I think it's largely Hindu-based as well. So in that kind of environment, what is it about Raja Yoga as taught by the Brahma Kumaris that has been particularly of value and importance to people there?
In fact, Mauritius is a multiracial country, and the Hindu population is above 55%. But still, in the Hindu population, we have so many different sects, and they are divided in different sects, different type of religions they are following. Where when we go towards them, it's true they appreciate what we teach them. Not so we talk about the values or meditation, but still where they are linked with, they stick to that. But as I said previously, when we went in the villages, then they came to understand that what really is the work of the Brahma Kumaris, that it's not pertaining to any different religion, but it is spiritual education. And as it is approved by the Parliament also as a spiritual educational institution, so now slowly, even those different ethnic groups, they are acquainted with Brahma Kumaris as a spiritual educational institution where everyone can take benefit in all the different aspects of their life. So we have also health programs going on, just like we have the different wings, the medical wing, the educational wing, the women's wing, the youth wing. And so we have all the different programs of these different groups organized in all the different parts of Mauritius. And nowadays service is quite growing. Many people have come to know the importance of Raj Yoga meditation, especially in the health sector. Because I myself, I was in the health sector. I was a nurse, and I worked in the government for 15 years. And after that, when we had more demand in the center for help on the medical, on the health side, then I had to take my leave from the work, and I dedicated myself only for godly service. And we had many patients referred from by doctors for meditation.
So in Mauritius, it's been the aspect of values and how to bring that into your life in a practical way, and health, the benefits of meditation for health.
Sure.
Okay. Celia, what particularly aspect of Raja Yoga has been of real value and interest for the people in Malaysia?
Even Malaysia, even though it is quite a rich country in terms of natural resources, and it is also quite calm and stable, but the fact that on an individual level, people are under stress, they have anxiety, they have fear about the future, they have got generation gap problems, problems with children, and so on and so forth. And so therefore people do need and are searching for peace of mind, for something, some technique or some tool to help them to overcome those problems and situations and obstacles in their life, whether it be family or financial or economical or political, they all do need. But the point is that they can't find the time to come to the center to take the course from Monday to Sunday. So what we have done since last year is something very marvelous that has really, I feel, taken the needs of the market, in the sense that instead of just of 1 week, we have a course. We call it an intensive Raja Yoga course, where they finish the whole course in over just 1 weekend. And it was so successful. The first time we conducted that program, nearly 100 people registered, as compared to every week, 1 or 2 or sometimes none. So they can afford to spend 1 weekend to come fully to take the course. And the second round, we had a program again, another big turnout. So like that now, we're able to cater to the needs of the people instead of they coming according to our requirements. So I think I'm quite happy in the sense that they come and take meditation, and then subsequently we sustain them through step-by-step meditation, creative meditation, other smaller groups. We break it up, and they really like the knowledge, the truth about the soul and the Supreme Soul. Even in Muslim religion, they dare not talk so outwardly about the Supreme Soul, but when we tell them about the relationship you can have with the Supreme Soul, they find that they can relate to that, they can connect to that, and they feel an experience. And so therefore, I think in terms of service, this is going to be the way out to reach to people. Instead of asking them to come according to our timing, we can then cater to the needs of their time and have retreats for them as well.
So as the pace of life becomes faster and faster, we have to compress everything.
Everything.
Even our course is almost 7 days course now.
In 1 weekend we finish it. And they like it. They take a lot back. And when they have an experience of that, they feel the taste of it, they then make time to come back.
That's the key, isn't it? Once people experience something, then you value it.
They value
it. You make space for it. Great.
Okay.
Mexico is such a different country, and your challenges are so different in terms of the uncertainty, as you were expressing, in terms of the drugs and all of that. So how has Raja Yoga been very valuable for the people of Mexico?
Well, the Mexican population, they are mostly Catholic. And well, now they are saying, everybody says this saying, like, most of us are good people. There are few that are doing all those things, but mainly the majority, we are good people. And it's true. Mexicans are very kind, very gentle, and they do like very much the like self-respect programs. And as I always say, this doesn't mean you have to follow everything here, but just take what you need and become a better Christian. So that's what they do, really. Many take the course. They are very open to take the courses. But really to commit and follow all our disciplines, that is a little bit more difficult. But in general, lots of people come for the course. And we've worked a lot also in Living Values program. In many states, we had contract with the Ministry of Education, and it has to be non-religious, but I feel that spirituality is universal and it's non-religious, and we've been able to give these courses everywhere.
I can relate in some ways, because coming from South Africa, when there's been a lot of experience of oppression or violence, it actually erodes the sense of dignity of the person, more than anything else. And therefore you find that spirituality helps to sort of heal that. That's a deep wound in the the psyche of the people in those places, of healing that wound and restoring a sense of dignity of who you are as a human being and as a soul. Has that been your experience as well?
Yes, because if you see, our countries have gone through being colonies, you know, and that really has generation after generation they have this wound that has to be healed, and so sometimes to listen to something that is foreign, it might be rejected at the beginning, but as they see the openness and the universality and the benefit they get, then they open their hearts.
When I started meditating, it was in the mid-80s, and at that time in South Africa, it was a lot of upheaval, and I remember we were meditating we had a little center in an apartment in an area called Hillbrow. And Hillbrow was one of those grey areas in South Africa. It's an area where black and white and all colors lived, but illegally. That's the way it was. And so you enter this little apartment, and it was completely different from the world outside the apartment. It's peaceful and serene, but all colors sitting together and meditating. And it was a miracle in a way, because it almost felt like what was happening in that little place was actually a miracle for what could happen for the whole country. And that's exactly what had happened in a way. So it's amazing that when we are in these situations, like in Egypt as well, in Cairo, and we meeting together and connecting and meditating and putting aside all the things that can create difference, but what unites us, it becomes an example of what can be a reality for the bigger country. Yeah, great.
Yeah, you can hear many stories in Mexico about that they were stolen, then they came to steal them, and then they were giving drishti, and they were talking from soul to soul, and the whole atmosphere changed. I mean, from being aggressive, it became loving and caring, and they did take the money, but it was in a very kind way, and they really regret what they were doing, things like that. You hear many stories about that.
Right. Also kind thieves. Transform them
You melt them. You melt them with spirituality. You do.
Oh, great. Okay. All of you have been engaged in a retreat for 3 days in silence, and I'm sure all of you have gained many insights for yourself. So I'd like you to just share your own personal inspiration for yourself, and a message for others that you've learned for yourself that you'd like to share with others.
Okay, so we've had 3 days of. I feel like we've been in a furnace, a bati. There's been silence. There's been a lot of noise going on in here as well for a time, and then the silence came. I think it's a wonderful thing to do. Some people don't even give themselves a minute silence. I was like this before meditation. I couldn't bear silence. It was scary. But as a Raj Yogi now, I understand that going inside and being silent and getting silent and getting to know yourself is not a scary thing to do at all, because underneath all of the rubbish, and yes, of course, we know we have lots of rubbish and we have lots of wounds that need healing and there's so much stuff, but when you come to the essence of who we are, we really find our own greatness, and we know that we can go beyond all of that stuff, connect with our original self, and just remember who we truly are. And we are complete, we are perfect, we're all children of the same God. We've been given everything that we need, really, already, to live our lives in the best possible way. So in meditation, in silence, we can really connect with this for ourselves. And it doesn't matter what the external situation is around us, we can learn to be stable, to be happy, to deal with anything, actually.
For me, these 3 days have been just like I have been more and more energized with that positive energy flowing And just like someone after having a shower feels fresh, the more every time we need to go deeper in that silence, I feel more fresh and full of that positive energy, which I feel that as much I want to share, that won't be enough. I feel that what I have received here, I'll go and share with whomsoever I'll meet.
Well, for me, I feel that as we progress further in service, there will be less and less chance for us to come into silence in a collective way. Why I'm saying that is because I was in Madhuban involved in several programs, organizing several programs and retreats, and coming here too, I was not able to have total silence. So what I did take with me is I kept that aim that in spite of the activities, in spite of the celebrations around me, in spite of noises, I have to keep my mind silent and my heart happy. Because if these two are connected, I feel. Because if I'm not happy, no matter how much I want to practice silence, it's like forced silence. It is not natural. So when my heart is happy, naturally, I have less thoughts. I come less into questionings and looking outwards, because inwards I'm happy. That inner happiness enables me to observe that silence in a more natural way. So I take that because I was able to observe that. I was able to practice it, not much, but I was able to do that to a certain extent, and I felt quite good about that. And also, I really take a lot of benefit from the seniors classes. One thing that I really benefited was that we constantly have to be in our original stage, detached from this old world, have limited interest in the unlimited. So this is one thing I like to take home. Have unlimited interest. Means I have to be interested, I have to be focused in whatever I'm doing, focus with the Supreme, and with that power, I'm able to renounce. The theme of our retreat, renunciation, with love. And so we do it with love. Then a forced kind of renunciation with compulsion.
Although it was a silence retreat, the topic was renunciation. And I think that's the main topic for someone who wants to follow a spiritual path, and for someone who wants really to become with a deep, strong self-respect. Because finally, your self-respect is based on how much you are detached from things, how much you are independent. So that's the renunciation. And I especially worked it out discovering my specialities and really empowering them. So I'm going back with lots of projects that I will do, and also being able to see the specialities of others. And I went through a process in the letting go with each one of the relationships, especially relationships that had some kind of conflict, because no one is beyond conflict. I think all of us have little things there and so on. So I just did 3 forgivenesses. One was, I forgive myself in this relation, I forgive the person, and I ask for forgiveness. And it was such a clear understanding of my karma and why I have to go through that. Yeah.
Thank you very, very much, all of you, for sharing so warmly and openly and deeply of your inspirations and experiences. And I hope our viewers will enjoy listening to this conversation. Thank you, and Om Shanti.